Hi, we're back and we're gonna talk about functions in Matlab. So essentially, this is about your homework. All the homeworks you're gonna do for programming is gonna be submitted to me as a function. So what is a function? If you have taken any programming class, you know what is a function. Basically, a function is that you give it some input, it will give you some output. A simple example is like a equals to 1, 2 by 2. Here ones, it's an internal function within Matlab that has input of, like, you have to give it input, like tell it is a 2 by 2 matrix. Then in return, the output will be kind of assigned to A, which will be a 2 by 2 matrix. You don't need to program those, such as like inverse we talk about, and determinant, det. Those are all functions within the Matlab you don't have to worry about. What we'll do here is that we'll build our own function to do matrix structural analysis. You do function by going to here, new script. I actually already get a function, so I'll just kind of go through it. You see, a structural function is something like this. It always starts with a what they call keyword function, and then you always have result equals to, and this one is the function name I'm gonna give you as each of the homework. So you do this one plus your program ID, like 0, 1, 0, 5, or 27, something like that. Then it always followed by a parenthesis with the input, which is the input. And for Matlab, if you want the program to not run any of the code, you just add a percentage sign in front of it. This is then be treated as a note in Matlab, so the program will just ignore it. You can make notes to yourself. I mean, this is a demo function. It kind of tell you what the input is. I mean, you have to type this in yourself. The reason you have to do that is that like if you are really doing programming, you know, making good notes is a good habit. I program like 100 subroutines every year. Then if I want to go back to like 5 years ago and try to use some of the subroutines I wrote back then, I don't even know what they're about. So these notes really help a lot. The input has n, b, and mm. N is the number of row and column. B is value in the matrix. Is the ID of the 0 column and the row. The output is result here. It's a n by n matrix for a value b, but the column and row will be all 0. And it's programmed by myself. It's a date. Good habit to have. I mean, you know which version it is. So basically what you do, you have to generate this matrix for B and then get rid of those columns and put 0 in there. You're not gonna accomplish that with like one sentence. So that's why you need this function. So basically you will first generate a n by n matrix for B and put it in a temporary variable called temp. Notice that the temp within the function, it will never appear in the workspace. So basically, as soon as your function run is over, those are gone. You can name it something other than temp. You can just do whatever. You can name it as B or not B, but any variable that you're not using here. But I just like to use temp because it kind of reminds me that's temporary. Then just ignore this one for now. Basically, you see this is the n by n matrix for B. Then I make the mth column and mth row equals to 0. Finally, this temp becomes what I want. Then I just assign that to result. Once the result is assigned, your function is over. What it has done is here is like a if sentence. Basically, you have if you have a 5 by 5 matrix, you don't want to have like the 7th row and column to be 0 because you don't have 7th row. So what I did here is that if mm is greater than n, then I will have the program to display error mm must be smaller than n, and then I will assign a nan, which is not a number, value to the result, and then I'll have the program return. But if it is smaller than or equals to n, then this part will not be run. It's basically just continue to whatever it is. So when you save it, the program will automatically pick up this name and save it as .m file, and then you can just email that to me. And you notice that the program also automatically save it within your working folder here we just set. And then so we can run it. Let's try clear everything, and then maybe a equals to basic homework. It'll give you some hints. So let's do a 6 by 6 matrix full of tens, but I want the second row and column to be 0. See, that's how I did it. And then if I want to say, okay, I want the 8th or 9th, which we kind of break the rule. This is greater than the dimension. Let's say error must be smaller than n, and n equals to n. This is just a simple example of how you can utilize functions. Of course, your function that you will be programming in homework gonna be probably more complicated than this, but that's the basic idea. Basically, to summarize, you write function result equals to some name I will give you and the input. Then finally, you just after a whole bunch of operation, you can use temporary variable to kind of be the middleman, and then finally you output whatever you want into the results. And then when you call your function, you just call it here. That is also how I will check your homework correctness. Okay, that's all for functions, and yeah, we're under 10 minutes mark, so that's good. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.